everybody. My name is Keith Ranch, and tonight we're here in Las Vegas, Nevada at KBEG radio station, and we're here exploring the UFO phenomena that is exploding in Las Vegas. We're here with Mr. Billy Goodman. How you doing, Billy?
Fantastic, Keith. Welcome to Las Vegas.
We are really excited, really excited tonight. We're going to go out to a place called Groom Lake,
right,
where thousands of people have been calling in reportings of UFOs.
Oh.
Can you tell us about the happening and what is going on with this explosion out here?
It's unreal. What has happened is, first of all, the way it occurred is that we found out through Bill Cooper that there was some activity going on at a location called Groom Lake, which followed up with this UFO hotline out of Los Angeles.
Right.
That corroborated that there was something happening. So we talked about a lot of Billy Goodman happening, and one thing led to another, and people said, we want to go out there. So we said, okay, let's put together a little trip. And we did. And a couple of Saturdays ago, you had to see this, Keith, to believe it. Over 100 people sitting in a circle in folding chairs with cameras in the middle of the desert. Now, you've got to visualize. Cars and trucks pulled off to the side, vans, everything, buses, all pulled off to the side. And they saw these lights all over the place. And now we left because we had to get the bus back to Las Vegas, but people stayed overnight, and they saw over 20 other sightings overnight of lights and activity that is unexplainable. You have to understand the area of Groom Lake is off limits to regular air travel and to Air Force and Navy. So no other planes are going to be flying over there except what is happening at Groom Lake. And
yeah, I understand that you can actually be shot down if you fly in that airspace.
I can't, because I won't do it. You know, I'm not about to fly over there. Yes, if anybody from the Air Force, the Navy, or commercial airlines, yes, they will be shot down. There's no question about it.
Who is Bill Cooper exactly?
Bill Cooper is a gentleman who was an ex-member of the Naval Intelligence Briefing Team. And he was honorably discharged in 1972 from the United States Navy. While in the Navy, as part of the Pacific Fleet, he spotted UFOs literally coming out of the water while he was on watch.
Coming out of the water?
Out of the water while he was on watch. Not only did he spot the UFOs, but other members of the Pacific Fleet also saw what he saw. Now, these UFOs not only came out of the water and flew around and did some tricks for them, they didn't do it once. They did a number of times. Out of the water, back into the water, come out and do some flip-flops for them, and then back into the water. So this man knows for a fact, number one, he saw them with his own eyes. But that's not all. That's not all. The other part is that while he was in the process of being a part of the Naval Intelligence Briefing Team, he had the opportunity to look at some top security papers, and he saw in writing that, in fact, there were UFO craft in captivity and aliens in captivity.
Actual aliens?
Actual aliens in captivity over the years.
Okay, well, listen, I guess we're going to have to wrap it up here. One more question. Have you been out to Groom Lake yourself?
I was there.
And what did you see?
I saw lights up in the sky, zigzagging. That's all I can tell you. In other words,
could they have been our aircraft? Did they act like something we may have?
No. Planes don't do that that I know of. Now, I'm not saying we don't have something that we don't know of that's going on at Groom Lake. But you don't see planes zigzagging up and down, flying horizontally, going up and coming down. You don't see those things as far as I know. With the planes that I'm familiar with. I'm not that much into aeronautics, don't get me wrong.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, we're going to go out there and check it out for ourselves.
Do it.
So, thanks for the interview, and we will talk to you later.
The only thing I regret is I cannot be with you folks. But I was there, and now it's your turn.
Okay, well, we'll let you know what happens tonight.
I know you will, but Charles Ellery will be out there. And Charles Ellery is my guide. And he's the one who brought us out to 29.5-mile marker on Route 375.
Well, you heard it,
You're on the air, Billy.
Oh.
He's on the air. Well,
no, I'm not. But I guess
we'll catch up with it.
As far as UFO activity and unsolved mysteries, decided to go into it and to look into what happened at Roswell, New Mexico. I want to read you a little letter that's dated September 21. As a matter of fact, it just got to the radio station today. It took a while to get here. I don't know why. Perhaps she did not mail it. But listen to this. In the late 40s, early 50s, my father was a civilian employee at Wright Air Development Center, now called Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio. He was air eyewitness to several pictures of the craft, as well as documents that were circulated among the key personnel in the government. What is being told now is something I have grown up with. My entire family has known of this since I can remember. But we, like the others, were sworn to silence. We were all too aware of the problems my dad would face if we said too much. Can you believe this, Dave? It goes on and on. Even though we knew that things from other planets did exist, she's not saying think, she knew things from other planets did exist, we tried to deny it to ourselves because even a few years ago, to mention such things in public would have bought us one-way tickets to the funny farm. That's only the beginning. There's more with this letter. I mean, there's so much more. This is nothing compared to the mail that I just received today of people telling us that finally the fact is that they have seen or they know of UFOs. Favor, zoom in on this little puppy. Look at it. Can you hear that noise in the background, folks? And camera 4, zoom in on this. This is, I guess it's a Tesla coil. Is that correct? Anybody nod your head? This is the Tesla coil. Now, you've heard me talk on the air about Nikola Tesla. Well, somebody, Ted Rice, brought this down tonight. Look at this. Isn't that something? That is fantastic. All I'm doing is touching it with the tip of my finger, and you hear that. I'm touching this. It looks like a crystal ball type thing, only it's not a crystal ball. And there's a lot of electronic stuff, and all it is plugged into the wall in restaurants. I think I'm seeing the very same thing, where you see them sort of fluttering out, and you probably have seen these at the Elephant Bar and shenanigans, but this is something else. And camera 4, zoom in on this puppy. Look at that. Oh, wow, I feel like I'm electrified.
Are the rumors that presidents have been briefed on aliens and UFOs true? Has a president ever said anything about extraterrestrials or unidentified flying objects? Let's see.
But I've often wondered, what if all of us in the world discovered that we were threatened by a power from outer space, from another planet? Wouldn't we all of a sudden find that we didn't have any differences between us?
When I left Vietnam, I was sent to the USS Charles Berry 1035 for a short period with NIS Naval Investigative Service to conduct an investigation on board that vessel. 3 months later, I left, was transferred to the staff of the Commander-in-Chief of the United States Pacific Fleet, who at that time was Admiral Bernard Clary, and was specifically attached to his intelligence briefing team. I also stood watches. In the Navy, you have a primary job. Some people don't know this, so let me explain it. In the Navy, you have a primary job, which you do. You also have to stand additional duty, which is called watches in the Navy. My watch station was Petty Officer of the Watch in the Command Center, which meant I was the senior enlisted man in the Command Center, in charge of the Command Center and the information. I was also the designated speak-out operator, which meant top secret, crypto, communications that came in under a specialized, compartmentalized category. I was the only one on watch who was allowed to handle that information and direct it to the specific place where it was to go. Now, normally these things are handled by radio men and communications technicians in a communications center. But in a command center where they have to have information instantly, everything that goes to the communications center also comes to the command center, so that there is not a delay in important information, urgent information getting to the right people who have to make command decisions. It was there that I saw documentation that I have to tell you right now could have been shown to me or given to me, or I could have been put in that position in order to see these documents so that I would specifically talk about them later. I'll tell you why in just a few moments that might have occurred. I don't believe that's the case. I believe that the information that I saw was real, was accurate, and is occurring. The documents stated that extraterrestrials were real, that UFOs were piloted by them and had been visiting this Earth for many, many thousands of years, that there was a project called Aquarius that had researched this history and compiled the history from written human records, starting with the ancient tablets left by the Sumerians, the Assyrians, the Mesopotamians, the Egyptians, right up to modern times. These documents were quite thorough and very convincing, believe me. There was documentation that the United States had actually recovered crashed alien craft. The first one occurred near a small town called Roswell, New Mexico in 1947. The crash site actually covered 2 locations. One location was on a ranch belonging to a Mr. Brazel. The other location was approximately 60 miles from there, where the main bulk of the craft had come down, from which they had removed 3 dead alien bodies. I saw photographs of these bodies, I saw photographs of the autopsies, and I saw photographs of the internal organs of these beings. It stated that in 1949 another crash had occurred, also in New Mexico, from which they had recovered more bodies, and that they had found 1 live alien creature wandering in the desert. Now you have to understand, just because I saw these documents doesn't mean that all of this actually occurred. These could have been presented to me to make me believe that this had occurred. It stated that they had kept this live alien in captivity until June 2nd, 1952, at which time he died of unknown causes. They instituted a project called Sigma to attempt to contact the race that this being belonged to. Sigma evolved into the National Security Agency. That eventually contact was made. Landings occurred, communication took place, an alliance was agreed upon. This actually was supposedly happened at Muroc, which is now known as Edwards Air Force Base in California, in 1954. President Eisenhower was on vacation at that time in Palm Springs. During this time, you can see by reading the newspapers that he disappeared. The newspapers went crazy. Reporters were combing the countryside looking for the president. They were told that he had suffered a toothache and was flown by helicopter to a dentist. Well, this was not true. The true place where he was taken was Muroc, Edwards Air Force Base. The base was closed. This is also on record for 3 days. No one could go in, no one could come out. There are witness accounts that say 3 unidentified flying objects flew over Edwards Air Force Base and landed. We have a letter, which I'm going to show you later, from Mr. Gerald Light, who states that he was there when President Eisenhower was there. He saw the ships, he saw these creatures. And that's just the beginning, but I'm not going to go much farther than that. Right now, we're going to get into some documentation so that your disbelief can start to see that this is not as incredible as it sounds. And I know what some of you must be sitting there thinking. It wasn't too long ago, I would have been thinking the same thing. Now, over the years, if this is real, it's been suppressed and covered up and hidden for very good reasons in the beginning. Reasons that don't stand up now. Reasons that have resulted in criminal activity, in erosion of the Constitution, in all kinds of things. Now, I said that I believe that this is all true. I don't believe that it's a hoax. The evidence is overwhelming that it's true. And by overwhelming, I mean exactly that. When you get into really investigating this, looking at it, the evidence will overwhelm you. It is incredible that such a cover-up has been able to be maintained for so long. On the other hand, I have found references as far back as the beginning of this century by a secret group of very powerful people to create an artificial alien threat from some other planet to help unite all humanity into a one-world government with them at the head. I found a speech given by John Dewey in 1917 to Viscount Ishii and the Japanese delegation in New York City, where the first thing that he says in his speech is, "Someone once told me that the best way to unite all humanity and do away with war is if we were attacked from some other planet by alien beings from outer space." I have found reference in a report called the Report from Iron Mountain to the ultimate method of permanent peace on this earth and uniting humanity, doing away with nation states which cause wars, and substituting for war a tremendously wasteful space program that would unite humanity against an alien threat of an intelligent race from another planet. Now, I didn't know all this when I saw these. Heads of colleges,
black
Jimmy.
Also, we know that Area 51 had, as far as I can document or track it back.
Not credible. Why did you elect me? If we can send...
Put in my mind aside, whatever Tom was trying to tell me would stay a question in my mind for months to come. I went back to Durango and drove to Cortez. I fell in love with that town and knew that this was a hometown I wanted. That fall, I slipped into the area and retrieved the box with the camera and other things. Tom asked me to have faith in him and that no matter what I may hear about him, I should always remember that he is the same man I've known for years. That evening, after dinner, he made several long-distance phone calls.
Other people have seen it fly. I have a photograph of it in my book. I also have a drawing given to me by one of the people who have been there and touched it and seen it. The drawing matches the craft in flight exactly. I'm also going to show you a videotape of another craft, what they call a cigar-shaped craft, above the test site here in just a few moments. So, when you hear people talking about secret weapons, when you see the stealth fighter unveiled, what they have behind it in the wings, that you too can also go see, by the way, in Nevada, if you have the money and the time to go out there and stand in the desert all night. If you look toward Groom Lake between sunset and sunrise on any given night, you can watch them test fly these craft. But you have to be prepared to stay there 2 or 3 nights because they don't always fly every single night. This is the Tonopah area of Nevada. Tonopah Test Range is out in this area. Next. Down here you see Nellis Air Force Base. See again up here, Tonopah Test Range. Down in here is Mercury. Over here is Groom Lake. Next slide. This is the Tonopah Test Range with some revelations on it. Stealth fighter flight path, turn off to TTR, rocket on stand, radar road, large radar facilities, unmarked runway used by stealth fighters is here. We could go on and on, but we don't have the time. Next. This area is also the test range. Nellis Air. Over here it says Force Base. Gold Flat. You see over here is Tonopah. Right up here it says Saucer Mesa. See that? Saucer Mesa. I don't know if that means anything, but I think that's a hell of a coincidence in an area where they're testing flying saucers, that you've got a name on a map called Saucer Mesa. Next. This is a letter from a man who worked in, and this is in my book, so I'm just going to brush over it lightly, that worked in Area 51 and saw the saucer fly. Next. That's just a lens cap for my camera. We cover up names to protect the identity of people so that they don't get hurt. But in here, he talks about seeing crates labeled Project Redlight. Project Redlight is the name of the project that I saw that flew crashed alien discs in the technology that we had for flying saucers. He also talks about the fact that when a certain siren would go off, they were supposed to run into a building and they couldn't look out the windows. Or if they were caught outside, they all wore a little pouch on their belt that contained a black hood. They were to take the black hood out of the pouch, put it over their head, and lie down on their stomach on the ground and not move. Next. And he goes through, he talks about, he says he saw the pilots. They were human and they were just slightly larger than he was. Next. This is a saucer developed and flown by the French. It is real. It flies. It's not a joke. Next. It's another view of the same saucer. You can see the hatch down here. This is significant. That is a watertight, airtight hatch.
What kind of technology is that?
Boy, you got me. It says here, it says 3 135 horsepower engines would supply the power. It doesn't say that it did, and it doesn't say what kind of engines. Next. Now, if you remember, not too long ago, Jackie Gleason's wife, after he died, released an unpublished manuscript, and in it, she says that Jackie Gleason told her that he was asked to accompany President Nixon to Homestead Air Force Base, where President Nixon showed him dead alien bodies in a morgue. Jackie Gleason was very much interested in UFOs and all of that kind of stuff, and he was a friend of President Nixon. Nobody knows if the story is true, but I don't think his wife has any reason to lie to us. Why would she want to discredit her dead husband with something ridiculous that wasn't true? Next. And that was the cover of this magazine, June 14th, 1955. Next. In which this story appeared. This was information leaked by a general, and he gave them a scoop. These are actual drawings of a United States Air Force flying saucer, tells how it worked, shows the air base of the future, and what is it? I'll be damned if it isn't an underground base, where they can go in and out this way, out cliffs like they do under the Archuleta Mesa near Dulce, New Mexico, or up out the top. What a coincidence. Next. Here we are again at the Nevada Test Range. Next slide. Now, this is Groom Dry Lake right here. Notice it says danger. Right up here is where the 29.5 mile marker is. Right up here somewhere is the little alien. Down here is Las Vegas. This highway goes up out of Las Vegas through Alamo to Ash Springs. Then you take this highway down here to the 29.5 mile marker, and you look directly at Groom Lake on any given night from dusk till dawn, and you will see them fly. You can take photographs of them. You can videotape them. Thousands of people have done it. They have called into radio shows and said what they saw. When Billy Goodman was on KBEG in Las Vegas, every night, dozens of people would call in and report what they saw out there. Next slide. That's Groom Lake again, showing the tunnels that go to Los Alamos and up to Tonopah. Next. These are the facilities at Groom Lake. The United States Air Force and the government say that there is nothing there. It is a barren desert wasteland with a dry lake bed. There is nothing there. This is where they developed the U-2. Next. It's another view of the same thing. Next. Here's another view. Same. Another view. Another view. Another view. I guess by now you all know there's something there. The runway is over 30,000 feet long. That's 6 miles. It's really closer to 7 miles from the people that I've talked to. This is a Next slide. And this is what we've been able to identify as being there. The runway was built in 4 phases. They have a TACAN, which is a tactical navigation tower, navigational aids, access road, refueling ramp, tank farm. Tank farm is fuel tanks. Pipeline, road, housing, MiG haven. They have one of every kind of MiG that was ever built here. Power lines, water supply. This is a National Security Agency, CIA satellite.
It's time to take a trip. This is the Mojave Desert of California and Nevada. What you see here is the atomic test range at the end of the pencil point. It's also an area where many other military and governmental projects are tested and carried out. The U-2, the stealth fighter, the stealth bomber, they were all flown and tested there. That's the area of Groom Dry Lake, also known as Area 51, a super secret, super top secret test area. We're going to start our trip in the city of Las Vegas. I will start in another state, but we're all going to meet in the city of Las Vegas because we all know where that's at. And from the city of Las Vegas, we're going to take 93 R15 north. They're both the same until you reach that point right there, and then 93 branches off, and we want to take 93 north to the city of Alamo and then up to the city of Ash Springs. About 2 to 3 miles north of Ash Springs, we will intersect with Highway 375, and we're going to turn west. That's left on 375. We will go up over Hancock Summit. When we come down the other side, we will see a road that goes straight into the test site, a dirt road, and we will also see the mailbox on the left-hand side where the 29.5 mile marker should be. We'll go over Coyote Summit, and then we'll end up in the little town of Rachel at the Little Alien, where we will get a meal and lodging. This is the test site. Come back to the 29.5 mile marker, put your back to the road, face perpendicular to the road toward the mountains, and you will be looking directly at the Groom Dry Lake test site. For those of you who may be coming from Los Angeles, take Highway 15 to Las Vegas, then 93 up to 275 or 375 west to the little town of Rachel. That's Highway 375. If you're coming from other areas, just get a map, look at it, find a highway that goes to Las Vegas, and from there take 93 to 375, and you can't miss it. If you're coming from Seattle or Salt Lake City, go south from 70, or from Salt Lake City you can take 15 south and then cut over on 56 to 93 to 375. Good hunting? Well, let's go.
On top of that mesa, hear the cry, holding I hear way down deep they're working harder, making lots of clones, and that's just for starters. Come on, you guys in D.C., look around and you can still see, before this country spent more cover-up lies. As clouds pass by, I'm sure daydreaming. I have to try and go in there to free them. Oh, don't you know, together we can save them before the EVs strike that trend by. Hold in the sky, hold in the sky, clouds hide the ships in caravans. Hold in the sky as they go by, this world's getting closer to Greenland. There's holes in the sky. There's holes underground. Wake up, people. Look around.
On this night, nobody recognized me. I grabbed a quick meal, registered under an assumed name, got in my Bronco, and headed back for the mailbox. Well, here it is. The mailbox. The famous mailbox at the 29.5-mile marker on Highway 375 between Rachel and Ash Springs in the state of Nevada. We're about 120 miles north-northwest of Las Vegas in the desert. It's cold out here. It's about midnight, I think. We've been out here for about 3 hours. The sky is clear. All the stars are out. We've got a quarter moon going on full. And behind me is the Groom Range, the Groom Mountain Range. And on the other side of that mountain range is a super secret testing area called Area 51. It's also known as Groom Dry Lake. And if you're lucky enough to have a map that has it on it, that's how you're going to find it. Look for Groom Dry Lake. Many maps don't show this area. Some maps will have a big danger area designated just behind me, about 15 miles away. We're here to see what we can get on tape, so stick around. As I sat in the cold, dark desert, wondering if I were going to see anything rise up over those mountains in the distance, I thought of the 6 trips that I had made to Groom Lake. This videotape is a composite of footage from all 6 of those trips. Some of the footage is out of sequence. It is being presented to you as one trip. So just remember that while all of the footage you see here is authentic footage, it is presented out of sequence. It is representative of 6 separate trips that I have made to the test site. And it is being presented to you as one trip, as if it had all happened during one trip. On every trip to this test site, I've always been able to hear some kind of tones at night. And the closer I am to my vehicle, the louder the tones seem to be. When I sit inside of my vehicle, they seem to be all around me and very loud. When I get out of the Bronco and walk away from it, then the tones fade into the distance. I have no idea what this represents or what it means. Other people who have been with me have heard the same tones. Carolyn O'Patry, the secretary of a Superior Court judge in San Diego, has sat in the Bronco and has heard the tones near the mailbox on Highway 375, and also at the warning signs right at the border of the test site. Off in the distance, you can hear cattle shuffling around. You can hear the coyotes yapping at the moon. If you're alone, it can be a little scary, a little intimidating. Sometimes a vehicle will pass by on Highway 375. As often as not, no traffic will pass in either direction. On this night, I sat in the dark, drank a Coke, watched the lights of the security vehicles in the distance, and then I was rewarded for my patience. A craft came up over the Groom Mountains, hovered, dropped back down, moved back up into the sky and hovered again, and then flew directly across the Tikaboo Valley, right over my head, displaying the characteristics of what is called a boomerang-shaped UFO. Then later in the morning, around 4 a.m., we believe that we saw it come straight down from the zenith back into the test site. Watch now as I play these scenes for you, over and over again, so that you can experience what I saw in the desert.
Saw it there, up in the sky, the brightest light in the black of night, with these eyes. It seemed to float, it didn't fly. Harmonic disc and the sound of mist and my soul.
I hope you noticed that the object as it flew directly over our heads appeared to be boomerang-shaped, or at least the front of it was in the configuration of a stealth bomber, and conformed to the reports made all over the world of UFOs, silent, unidentified flying objects that could hover, as this one did, could fly at great speed, as this one did, and demonstrated the shape of a boomerang. I have also seen other types of unidentified flying objects over the test site, one of which I photographed, and it is almost exactly the same as the photograph that Gary Schultz made from the mailbox location at the 29.5-mile marker on Route 375. So I'm going to show those to you next, and then we're going to take a trip up to the warning signs in the morning and see how close we can get legally without breaking any laws. This is a black and white photograph of one of the craft flying above the test site that I took using the push process development of film. And I want you to notice that when I show you the photograph that I published in my book, which was contributed by Gary Schultz and taken from the mailbox location at the test site by Mr. Schultz, that these two craft are identical. And then I'm going to show you a drawing that was also published in the appendix of my book, given to me by someone who claimed to have first-hand knowledge of what these craft are, and who claims to have actually seen one at Norton Air Force Base. So compare the three, and you'll see that definitely they conform. They are the same craft, in my opinion. However, you can make your own judgment. This is the photograph that was taken by Gary Schultz, which he so kindly allowed me to publish in the appendix of my book, Behold a Pale Horse. You can notice the similarity. They are almost exactly identical. He took his on a color film. I don't know exactly what type of film he used, but they are the same craft. Now watch as I show you the drawing furnished by a source whom I cannot name, and I hope you will understand that. This is the drawing of the craft that appears in the appendix of my book. I cannot reveal the source because the source would be in danger. You can see, though, for yourself that there are two seats plainly in view in this drawing, and what appears to be maybe two other seats around behind that center apparatus, whatever it may be. You can also see that there is an airtight, watertight door, similar to the doors that we used on board the submarine that I was on, the USS Tyro SS-416. You can also see from the cutaway that it appears to be some kind of electromagnetic drive. Although I'm not a physicist, I don't pretend to know how this is driven. Just from looking at it, that's what it appears to me to be. You make your own decisions, however. Now let's take a trip up the road from the mailbox to the Steve Medlin Ranch and down to see how far we can go legally to the test site.
All you fans the forgotten man, working in this crazy land. They say I won't tell what goes on in this hell. I'm the forgotten man in the secret dreams clan. I've got to make a stand and tell all you fans that live in La La Land, and tell all you fans that live in La La Land.
A friend of mine told me about a mountain which the Air Force failed to grab in their famous land theft that's still on the public land, in public domain. He said that he had been to the top of this mountain and had looked right down into the test site itself. The purpose of the Air Force land grab was to prevent that from happening. This is that mountain, and tonight myself and a few friends plan to climb up there and videotape the test site. The test site is in that general direction, right straight to the left down that valley. It is impossible to see it from any location other than a high point, and that mountain is the only one left. This is looking back toward Hancock Summit. You can see the test site dirt road goes straight up and intersects Highway 375. And you can see the highway snaking up through the Hancock Pass. It's barren out here. There is literally nothing. Joshua trees, shrubs, sagebrush. That's about it. Cactus, rattlesnakes. Now we're going to head back up the dirt road to the intersection of Highway 375 and then look back so that you can see what it looks like from the highway. Well, that's where we just came from. You're looking back down the road right into the test site, and to the right you can see one of the frequent gigantic dust devils that show up in this area from time to time. They're fascinating to watch. They're actually a small model of a tornado caused by heat rising. This is on telephoto looking all the way down the road where we came from. And now it's time to go get some breakfast. I'm hungry. On the way back, we stopped at the mailbox so that Annie could give us a description of what she sees in the area. What can you see, Annie?
What I see is all the mountains and nothing's here.
Desert?
Desert.
You see anything out in the distance at all?
Well, I can see some snow on the top of the mountain. That's about it.
Did you see anything earlier?
Yeah, I have seen 3 airplanes pass by.
Were they flying high?
Yeah, pretty high.
Were any of them real low?
One's really low.
Was it a big plane?
Yeah, it's a big one. And the others, I think, kind of high.
Off in the distance, we spotted a dust cloud on the Groom Lake access road, and there was a vehicle going so fast that I could hardly believe my eyes. We have no idea who it was or why they were going so fast, but as you can see, this person had to be going close to, oh God, I don't know, looks to me like he's going pretty close to 100 miles an hour down a dirt road that's very bumpy and very unstable, even for a four-wheel drive vehicle like the Bronco. Well, we're still on the way back to get some breakfast, but I wanted to stop here and show you one of the many little four-wheel drive trails that I've explored on my 6 trips into this area. But I want to advise you not to do it. Don't go off on these little trails and these little roads, simply because the security people can be very intimidating, very threatening. They do flash weapons around. They will threaten you with prosecution for espionage. and occasionally you'll be harassed by helicopters if you get too close to the test site and some of these offbeat trails. Now you can see that it goes right over the top of the saddle between those two peaks, and it's an interesting little trail, but that's all I can say about it. We're going to pan the camera around to the left here, and you'll be looking back toward Hancock Summit down the highway, and then we're going to continue on and get some gas, and then we'll get some breakfast. Well, there's the little town of Rachel. We're going to stop and get some gas up here pretty soon. We went across the Tickaboo Valley up over Coyote Summit, and this is Rachel that we're coming up on now. Make sure that you stop and get gas when you're at Rachel, and try to keep your gas tank full all the time because it's quite a ways to any gas station. It's 110 miles to Tonopah, and it's about 50 or 60 miles back to Alamo, maybe farther than that. Well, we filled up our tanks. This Bronco's got a big V8 engine, the biggest they had when it was built. So we took 20 gallons. And I got to tell you, no matter how much it takes, it's always best to have a good full tank out here. And a big jug of ice water. Make sure you bring plenty of water out in this desert, and make sure you've got a vehicle that you don't have to worry about. Good tires, and everything works. If you've got a car that you have to worry about, don't drive out here. Please don't drive out here, because you're going to get broken down and stuck, and all kinds of things might happen. Well, here we are. Time to get some breakfast. It's a good thing they serve breakfast all day, because it's late morning. In fact, I believe it's almost noon. There's the sign that you'll see. And you can see that the road's a little bumpy coming in here to the parking lot, but the parking lot is a nice paved lot. Oh man, I can just about smell the food cooking. Pat is an excellent cook, and I just can't wait to get some of her good cooking. Now, on this little jaunt, I was recognized, and everybody in there knows who I am. And that was Joe.
Let that char go. It's called and those things.
This is Pat's kitchen, and Pat's cooking breakfast for Annie and I.
Got it. Good morning.
Good morning, Pat.
And I like to cook.
Oh boy, does that look good.
Probably more at home out here than any place else.
How long have you been cooking here, Pat?
Almost 3 years.
And that's when you opened?
That's when we opened. August will be 3 years.
What has all this alien business done for you guys?
Oh, it's kind of picked up, and it's been a lot of fun. Serious enough that we changed our name.
Do a lot of people come and...
We have people come here every day looking for answers to questions or exchanging information on the UFO activity, either in our area or other areas. And We've learned an awful lot.
I bet they love your cooking, don't they?
I haven't had too many complaints.
Well, our meal last night certainly was excellent, and I'm looking forward to this breakfast.
Well, good.
While waiting for breakfast, I thought I'd pan around and just show you some of the things that are on the walls. These are pictures of General Ramey trying to explain away the Roswell crash as a weather balloon. One of his warrant officers, a meteorological specialist, also said it was a weather balloon. And on the right you can see Jesse Marcel, Major Marcel, holding pieces of what was purported to be a weather balloon. Of course, he said in his own interview later, many years later, that it certainly was not a weather balloon. It wasn't anything that he was familiar with at all in his experience. These are just some of the photographs of UFOs that Pat and Joe have collected from visitors and from their own efforts. And these are what are purported to be alien beings. The only one that looks familiar to me from my naval intelligence days is the one on the top right. The others are reported by abductees and people who claim to have contact all the time. This is what Pat and Joe affectionately call the Rachel Wall of Fame. You can see it has the winning baseball team and some of the local people on there who have done some things that are noteworthy. And one of the desert characters that live in the area on the top right there.
Well, we've enjoyed all the people that we've met while we've been here. It's people from our own country, people from all kinds of other countries. And every one of them are just absolutely exquisite. Whether they're here just traveling through to see our great country, or whether they're really here to come and look for the UFOs.
As you can see, Rachel is a very tight-knit little community. There's only one picture on that board that really shouldn't be there. On Rachel days, they had a big parade. Billy Goodman. He's been thrown off of more radio shows and out of more radio stations just for trying to get the truth on the air than anybody else in America.
Well, we came here 3 years ago. The place was a mess. We just tore it down, cut it out, redid the inside. And after that, we heard that we were being talked about on radio and various shows. So we decided we would call the place Little Alien, because they were talking about UFOs and people from outer space and such. So we decided that we would go along with the theme, you know.
What was the name of your establishment before?
Rachel Bar and Grill.
Rachel's Bar and Grill, and this is the town of Rachel.
This is Rachel.
On 375. About how far is this from Ash Springs, Joe?
Ash Springs is about 45 miles.
And it's due east, isn't it?
Well, pretty much. It's mostly east and south a little.
What's the best time for people to come up here and look around and have a good time and eat some good food?
Well, just any time. There's no, there isn't any set pattern. Just we have good food all the time. Drinks are always cold.
I know Andy and I came up here intentionally on a Sunday so that we might not find too many people here. When can people come up and there might be a few more people sitting around?
Well, that's any given day. Just we never know. It's unpredictable. Just any time.
I've heard Wednesday's a good time. Is that true?
That's been there's been people reporting Wednesday morning, with Thursday morning, Wednesday night. It was quite active over there. But then you never know. It can happen anytime.
Yeah. Well, I guess you've met a lot of interesting people and made a lot of new friends.
Oh, you bet.
Probably learned a lot of new things.
I can't put it all in one. I can't put it all in writing without there. It's just amazing.
Well, that's great.
All the information that's available it's really mind-boggling. So many people are interested in this UFO thing.
Well, we finally got our breakfast. That's little Pooh, little Dorothy, my daughter. And she's already eating. There's Annie, my wife. And there's just one of the most wonderful breakfasts that I've ever seen in my life. Look at that. Grits are hard to find. I asked Pat for grits, and I got them. Beautiful eggs, 2 giant sausage patties, a giant plate of toast, jam, jelly, butter. Good company, good food. You just can't ask for anything more than that. While I was eating, I looked around, and what did I see? This little fella, tacked up on a door, eating strawberry ice cream. We took Joe's advice and came back on a Wednesday night. As I walked in the door, the room was full of people. I recognized Anthony J. Hilder from Radio Free America, whom I'd done many talk radio spots with. Norio Hayakawa, Gary Schultz was there. Charles Wren of Millennium Productions, a Japanese film crew from Tokyo, Japan, and many other television crews were present. In fact, the TV cameras almost outnumbered the people. Later, George Knapp from KLAS and a camera crew would show up from Las Vegas, Channel 8, along with John Lear and Bob Lazar. We moved around the room and talked to many people that we haven't seen in quite a while. Some of them we met in my lecture trips around this country. Charles Wren of Millennium Productions was later that night to make his mark on history as the first civilian ever to get real live footage, video footage, of the installations in Groom Dry Lake, also known as Area 51. Charles was a part of an expedition put together by Gary Schultz and myself to trek up the mountain that I showed you earlier in this videotape and attempt to do exactly what Charles did. Half of the expedition, led by me, stopped at an intermediate level. Gary Schultz managed to reach not the highest peak, but the second to the highest peak, where Charles Wren was able to gather his historic footage. You'll see the results of that expedition later in this videotape. Right now, let's watch and listen as Anthony J. Hilder introduces the first speaker at this historic first UFO convention ever conducted near the test site at the Little Alien in Rachel, Nevada.
Gathered here tonight not to discuss so much whether or not there is saucer activity in Groom Lake and Papoose Lake. Thanks to individuals like Bill Cooper, Gary Schultz, Norio Hayakawa, Bob Lazar and company, that's a matter of fact. It's a given. That's not the purpose of our gathering here tonight. We know that the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Skull and Bones.
Anthony went into great detail about the secret societies and groups that really control this country and who may be in secret possession of this technology which we call UFOs. Then he got into some of the most serious aspects of this phenomenon.
Medical experiments are being performed on human beings. I don't know how many of you think about this. But if we do nothing, if we say nothing, if we don't speak up now, we may have a world that is controlled by individuals of this New World Order.
who are in league with the devil. Literally. I think the New World Order is the New World Odor. It's time that we incite a revelation to avoid a revolution in this country. I'm proud of each and every one of you that's come here tonight, and I hope that you learn a great deal from our first speaker, and I'd like you to give him a round of applause, Norio Hayakawa. Norio?
Yeah, thank you very much for coming to this unprecedented event at this alien, and thanks to the hospitality of Pat and Joe Travis, we are able to have this event tonight. And I think that rather than to really antagonize people and so on, I think our main objective, of course, is to basically have a good time, okay, but also to learn something and also to reflect on ourselves what we're doing here. And it's my understanding that if there are workers here, of course we welcome them, and what we of course need, of course, is further input, and we trust that we're very. We'd like to be, of course, very discreet about this entire thing, and it's for the benefit of the community. And also tonight, I understand that there are some groups, basically, that the Rural Association members are here, the Rama, and also confident, and I understand, by the way, that within 12 to 18 months from now, some sort of an announcement or some sort of Freedom of Information Act release will be made, both from the Area 51 area and also Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. It's my understanding they are going to allow release from the Freedom of Information Act from Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, possibly within the next 18 months, 12 to 18 months. And we are told that we cannot park our cars on a county dirt road. We have to, so please remember this. And later on, after this 2-hour presentation, response. And the entire world by now knows the most popular spot in Area 51 from which to observe these unconventional aircraft is the famous mailbox area. Now, the mailbox area is a very, very nice area. This is the most common place. There's a Gary Schultz, and may I just, yeah, okay.
Let me do a little further introduction of Gary Schultz. I met Gary about 20 years ago, and he worked with me in a psychological warfare center in Century City. He's a phenomenal guy. He's a fanatic. He's like a mongoose after the cobra. He will not let go. He will not let go of this issue. I think between Norio Hayakawa and Gary Schultz and other individuals in this room, this story is breaking worldwide. Take a look at the cameras in this room. I mean, this is, you know, this is like the outback in Australia, for God's sakes, and in the United States of America. Take a look at the people in this room. I'd like to ask those in the room to... Bill Cooper, good God, he's been on this for as long as I've known him. His book, Behold the Pale Horse, is phenomenal. I've had him on as a guest probably 4 or 5 times. We're going to do a 30-hour special to break this story from border to border and coast to coast. It is not going to happen, it is happening.
A major step in their life, as he has done, needs the support of a good close friend, and thank you for supporting him. Next, I want to thank, and this is rather paradoxical, I sat in an audience of about 2,000 people at Hollywood High School Auditorium on Sunday, November 5, 1989, listening to Bill Cooper. And I had heard him on the radio about 2 or 3 weeks before on Tom Likas KFI. He's a great LA radio talk show host. And that's what got my wheels turning. And then, when I heard him speak, he really got my attention when I learned there was a place that I could go to see these craft. And I thought, well, this is simple enough. I'll go there and perform that simple test. And although the first time I went in early January, I didn't see anything, I learned out later on, Saturday nights are dead. But what was important was I met several people there who had been there before and had seen plenty. And besides, I had been told by Stan Barrington, Bill Cooper's close friend, that it's a crapshoot every time you go out. And although on some nights you will see nothing, on other nights you'll go out and all hell will break loose. So we determined, of course, we were going to go back numerous times to really challenge this proposal. I said to Pearl here, we're going out on Wednesday night. And that's when we determined to go out on Wednesday, February 28th. Nobody else was able to go. And Pearl says, are you sure you want to go? Nobody else going. I said, of course. I said, think of this show. It's broadcast all over the western states. Think of thousands, hundreds of thousands, perhaps, of people listening to it, and the information is filtering all over the world. People will be there from all over Europe, Australia, everywhere, to say nothing of Las Vegas, which is so close. I said, let's go. There'll be plenty of people there. We went, and nobody was there. We were it. And suddenly, at 7:30 p.m., the first saucer came on. And I was sitting in a lawn chair beside the car, and I about jumped out. I was ready. I had my camera in hand, and I jumped up and started flashing away. 5 more saucers came up. And that photograph is a result of the closest encounter with one of those 6 saucers that night. And I was convinced. I'm a bit more avant-garde than Norio.
All life is spiritual. Something deep inside, your sixth sense time clock is reeling towards a future that's yours to find. The daily life and daily strife goes on to the end, but like the ocean tide, truth comes again and again. Take back the power you gave. Take back authority. Insert the world you made beyond eternity. Life and love and liberty walk hand in hand with those who will see. Limitations are not for the bold. Chains are chains, whether iron or gold. Have you had the feeling there's someone looking inside? It's there then gone, maybe fleeting, even hours of missing time. What they used to subdue you was a sound and a flash of light. They imitate the great sound of you. You will banish the night. Take back the power you gave. Take back authority. Insert the world you made beyond is believing in a way that's part of me. It's science, art that's breathing with life from the cosmic sea. I've seen it work on even the worst of metallic implantees. When fear's around, sing this sound first. You is a natural ease. You is a natural ease. You is a natural ease. You.
What a night. When the conference finally ended, it was about 2 o'clock in the morning, Thursday morning, and those of us who were participating in the expedition scrambled for our vehicles. Approximately 8 other cars followed us out to the base of the mountain. I took the lead in the Bronco, followed by the four-wheel drive Jeep. 8 other vehicles followed along behind the Jeep, full of well-wishers and onlookers, some of whom camped at the base of the mountain all night, but did not climb up with us. Bringing up the rear was a Lincoln County Sheriff's Department patrol car, which Sheriff Dahl had sent with us to make sure that we went to the right place, stayed out of trouble, that all cars were parked off the county roads, and that no one harassed us. Thank you, Sheriff Dahl and your deputies, for your consideration and for your help. When we reached the area near the mountain, those of us with four-wheel drive vehicles took off across the desert. The rest parked and waited. It was dark, but later on the moon came out. We thought it would be an easy climb, but we were met with sheer drop-offs, cliffs, steep gullies, rocks, cactus, and occasionally in the distance you could hear the rattle of a snake. Those of us in my party stopped at an intermediate level. We didn't get to see what Gary Schultz's party saw later on in the night, but we sure had one heck of a good time.
Can you see me in there?
I'm looking. Oh, my God, there he is.
You find me?
I found you.
That's my foot.
Is this thing still on?
Yeah. Just press the button.
Or maybe that's what I've become since I've been up here.
Or a mountaintop pebble.
Yeah, whatever.
Look at that big pebble over there.
What is it, 2 lux?
1 lux.
1 lux.
Yeah. You can see it looks just like daylight, doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's what it's supposed to look like.
On the rocks.
Say some words of wisdom, Nuri.
I'm run out of that. Well, I just say I am disappointed. Nothing come out.
Well, I mean, you know, when we have a meeting here, right? And Rachel and advertise it, and KLAS television comes up, you don't think they're going to bring up the saucers for us? Right? Doesn't make much sense. Does it, Bill?
No.
No, of course not. I don't know what exactly to say. I get sort of staggered. Trying to put, it's difficult to put all my words together. Bill. You've done a fine job on the book, and if you want an endorsement from me, just
send me a self-addressed stamp.
Self-addressed stamp.
Oh boy.
Say a word of wisdom.
There's where all the cars are parked, except for ours. We lost ours. I see somebody way down there walking around, so we know not everybody came up here. No? Didn't see it anywhere. Well, here we are on the mountaintop in the middle of the Nevada desert, looking for lights in the sky. How dumb can you get?
Well, there is a big light in the sky right above us. The moon.
The moon.
The moon?
That's the light.
The moon at half day.
And Moonies.
There's Anthony's belly button.
Good Lord.
And there's where the real crazies went, over there. I'm looking for them. I don't see hiding their hair.
We were coming up here, so they didn't come out.
Yeah. They're not going to give us a show today.
Oh, there they are. I see them.
You do?
Yep. I sure do.
You see them on the hill?
Yep.
Are they in the top?
On the top of the first hill. Yep, there they are.
Gary Schultz and his party managed to reach the second to the highest peak on the target mountain. As they looked out toward Groom Dry Lake, this is what they saw. It was extremely difficult to focus the camera, but Charles Wren has to go down in history for being the first civilian ever, to our knowledge, to bring back real live video footage of the actual installations at Groom Dry Lake, also known as Area 51, that the government, the Air Force, the Navy, the Atomic Energy Commission, and every department of government has denied exists at all. This proves that is a lie.
The only way to pass the time, this is boring. You can get a good light, a good shot at that.
Yeah, what?
I don't. Is that really what we're looking at? I mean, is this what we think?
Yeah,
it is?
that's Groom Lake. That's it. The hangars.
Why would they? This is a question though that's legitimate. Why would they leave themselves open to us being able to come right up here and look at it?
Well, this isn't exactly an easy thing to find.
Yeah, look at the bullshit we went through to get
but
here.
look how desperate we are as seekers, you know.
Hey, it's a loophole myself.
Well, hey, it's more or less like, you know,
Yeah.
before they had even a bigger leak.
But
and
you
then
know
they
what?
took all the mountains they could get. They
Yeah.
figured they had it sewed up pretty good.
Yeah, yeah.
Now that they've gone this far,
Right, that's
since
right.
there is one little leak,
That's
what
right.
are they going to do? Take 20 miles more of mountains?
Exactly, the bastards.
To plug up
And by the
another
way,
hole?
Bald Mountain is right over there. We're hiding behind that hill from Bald Mountain. Isn't that great? Those fuckers can't see us from their observation post, their spy post. This is great.
You know, they could have built it down there about 40 miles down, right? Like you're saying. But see, that's 40 miles closer for us too.
Right.
Now it may be harder for us to view it, but it's 40 miles closer. Most people would probably coming up this extra 40 miles say, "Fuck it," because
Right.
you know I ain't gonna go all the way, and there may not be nothing happening.
True.
And then again, when I do get up there, I have to hike 2.5 goddamn or 2 miles or whatever up there, or a mile, whatever the hell, up this hill and.
You know, it doesn't look like that many lights, you know, necessarily looking from here. When you look through the binoculars, there's a shitload of stuff
Oh,
over
good.
there.
Let me see the binoculars. Does anybody have binoculars?
Here we go.
Oh, thanks, Jerry. Let me get my glasses off here. This is strap for you. All right.
Between 4 a.m. and 5 a.m. Thursday morning, Gary and his party watched this plane approach the runway and land at the facilities at Groom Dry Lake. Watch closely, and you can see the plane land directly in front of the lights. Later, as Charles Wren films the installation during daylight, you can see the runway in this exact position. We watched on the ridge below, and Gary's party watched this plane approach inside the mountains and then land on the runway. We could not see the plane actually land where we were at, but we knew that it never came up from the valley once it descended down below the mountains. Watch carefully and you'll see the plane taxi up to the facilities. We believe this is the plane that brings some of the workers. Others that live in the Tickaboo Valley area of Alamo and Rachel enter the test site on the dirt road by bus.
Man, I want to go there and ask how many people got up there. Maybe that light comes in. Did you ever heard anything about the light downtown? Well, go up the road.
Well, that's pretty close to the road, though. For campers.
Yeah, but none of those guys. It looks like they got their back, their reverse, right in reverse with the lights. Huh. And 1, 2, 3. There's the camper and the van.
See those things?
Yeah, the camper and the van are parked almost. What the van right car behind him. Probably one of the guys on the fucking. How many people came up there anyway? Maybe it's that black dude that was in that little. There was like, let me see, there was 6 people. Okay, well. Maybe this guy. Yeah. Oh, good. Yeah, all you have to do is jump off. Where's that? Oh, he's over there. It doesn't look like it's that big of a territory until we see a human walking around. I wonder if this is over here, that real light. I was going to mention weird little people come out. It's been confirmed by, well, not confirmed, but mentioned by others, you know.
Is. Oh, shoot. Those saucers, though, huh? Dang. Well, they could have come up earlier. Next time we'll have to come up here in the late afternoon.
Yeah. Let's come up here when it's about 110.
Yeah, right. Well, not cool, isn't it?
Gary, do you know?
No, that's a good question. Probably underground springs or something.
I think I see the guard shack, and
You see it, Jerry?
I think I do. Is that what I'm looking at?
Yeah, you should be able to see it from here.
But that's not the guard shack you and I approached, Gary.
Next time we come again, keep it anonymous. You know?
You make them sound big, you build them up high. You alter all the history books so the truth becomes a lie. No dirty deeds can stand apart from actions at their cost. No phony hero history can make up for broken laws. Educate the people was the Jefferson command. National security excuses weren't used then. You think you can act this way and slip it right on by. To hurt just one of your native sons is an incorrect reply. We know the heroes that took a risky stand. Some have died, but all have tried to keep this a free, free land. You bought up all the media to keep the secret lied. Behind closed doors on foreign shores, our fate you will decide. No 9-member group of men should have at its command the destiny of all the world to mold with so few hands. Print your headlines, fan the fires of hate throughout this land. Majority rules and we're just fools, too few to make a stand. You may hypnotize majorities with electronic hands, but the rest of us will stand and fight. We're the resistance band. One world order sounds nice to us, but the people should get to vote for it to be just. If you continue to manipulate, the people will stand, take back this land. The Constitution we will reinstate. We know the heroes that took a risky stand. Some have died, but all have tried to keep this a free, free land.
Each of us must tread the pathways of our destiny alone, learning life's lessons and assimilating our experiences into all that makes up who we are. There is no greater harm that can be done than to interfere in even one person's journey of life. Yet through the ages there have always been those insecure souls who on their way to maturity must manipulate every situation, including people, places, and things. It has been said that if a politician or even the supreme publicist of these unified sectors of that line could truly view their little selves from beyond, they would never again hunger for any earthly thing. But since this is the world of learning, there will always be tyrants and their slaves, and there will always be the eagles and swordsmen of the light that come to show the way out of this phony prison. We salute all those who stand up for freedom in times of peril. We know the heroes.
My name is William Cooper. I'm standing on Highway 375 in Nevada, about 140 miles north-northwest of Las Vegas. The mountain that I'm standing on is known as Hancock Mountain, and we are at Hancock Summit. Few people who travel this road, if any, ever realize that off in the distance over those mountains is one of the most closely guarded secrets in the history of the world. And that secret is the subject of this videotape. We are standing now in the Tickaboo Valley at the foot of Hancock Summit. Across the valley, approximately in the center, is a ranch owned by Steve Medlin. This is a cattle ranch, but it is also one of the first lines of security for a super secret test site known as Area 51. On maps, when you can find it on maps, it is labeled Groom Dry Lake. Until recent years, this area was so desolate that few people ever bothered to venture into it. And also until recent years, there were no small towns anywhere near this area. Appearances are deceptive. This film was made in January. In the daytime it's chilly, usually requires that you wear some kind of a light jacket and sometimes a heavy jacket. But at nighttime, temperatures drop well below freezing. During the 2-week period that we filmed this documentary, we were only able to really use our cameras on 2 nights, because on all of the other nights, our equipment froze up and was literally useless. If you should venture into this area in the wintertime, make sure you bring plenty of warm clothing and emergency equipment should you break down at night. There is nothing out here except cactus, Joshua trees, tumbleweeds, snakes, lizards, a few birds, cattle scattered everywhere. No one is ever able to come into the Tickaboo Valley, or in fact anywhere near the test site from any direction, without being detected and monitored for the entire time that they are in the area. Security is scattered throughout the valley. They belong to a corporation called Wackenhut Corporation and work at the test site on a contract basis. They can usually be found driving 4-wheel drive vehicles and will approach anyone who ventures off of Highway 375 toward the direction of the test site. Another one of the observation posts in the valley is located on top of this snow-capped mountain. If you look carefully, at the very highest peak, you can see the observation tower. Also, if you notice, coming from the left side of your screen, you can see one of the black helicopters that patrols the entire area on a random basis. From this observation point at the top of the mountain, they can see everything and everyone for a radius of 80 miles. Panning out from the Steve Medlin Ranch, you will notice that we are standing at the junction of the dirt road that goes into the test site and Highway 375. This road actually approaches the test site from the north, and the actual test site is about 45 degrees to the left of the road and over the mountains. Most of Nevada can be classified as open range. Open range, for those of you who have never heard the term before, means that there are few, if any, fences, and cattle roam freely. You must be extremely careful when driving at night and during the daytime, because cattle can frequently be found standing directly in the center of the highway. This is the area known as the 29.5 mile marker, although there is no actual 29.5 mile marker. But this is approximately halfway between the 30 mile marker and the 29 mile marker. This is the famous mailbox on the side of Highway 375 in the Mojave Desert in the state of Nevada. From this point, tens of thousands of people have watched strange craft fly in the sky over Area 51. This is the small town of Rachel. It hasn't been here for very long. Most of the people who live here work for the government or for the test site in some way or other. The entire town is made up of mobile homes, RVs, and camping trailers, and there are really only about 2 or 3 permanent buildings. This dirt road eventually links up with another one that is another entrance to the test site. This is the Little Alien, owned by Pat and Joe Travis, and we're going to interview Joe Travis in just a few moments. At the time of this interview, there was quite a bit of machinery in operation, and because I had a very limited time, was not able to wait until they shut the machinery off. So make sure that you listen carefully, because Joe has a lot to say.
We've been here going on 4 years, be 4 years in August, and it's been an experience. All the beautiful people we've met, things that we have learned about UFOs and such. It's been a fantastic experience. Something that a lot of people don't get to experience.
You have a bar and a restaurant?
We have a bar, restaurant. We have rooms available.
How many rooms, Joe?
We have 8 rooms. There's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of the rooms have 2 beds in them.
Have you ever seen any UFOs yourself?
Oh, the first winter we were here, at that time the bar was called the Rachel Bar and Grill. First winter, it was very cold outside. My wife and I were the only ones in the bar. And we were sitting about in the middle of the bar, I'd say. And suddenly a beam of light came through a rear door. Just, well, my best described probably like a flashlight going through an opening. Just the light was there and then suddenly it was gone. So my wife and I looked at each other and I said, did you see what I think I saw? She said, yes, I did. And it was like that. I felt a presence. I don't know how else to describe it. I felt that something or some kind of energy was there. That's the only way I could explain it. So I said, well, come on in. You're welcome. Make yourself at home.
Was the door open, Joe?
No, the door was closed. It was, like I say, it was very cold outside. It was probably 20 below zero.
So this light was actually coming right through the door?
Came right through the door. Just an instant right through the door. Like I said, the jam, like like a flashlight goes through a door, you know, it light up the jam. And then it just disappeared. And we never saw anything leave. Whatever energy it was, it just came and we didn't see it leave. Never.
Do you think there's really some UFO type craft out here in the test site, Joe?
Oh, there's no doubt about it. In my mind, there's too many people that have reported it, and too many people have seen them, and too many people have photographs. So it's just not, it's not someone's imagination. There is something definitely out there. That's my opinion, of course. You know.
It's really nice to have you back again, Bill, and be able to visit with you again. We, as you know, and maybe our friends out there don't, we've been here for 3.5 years. It's almost 4 years. It's a little place out in, well, we kind of call it the hub. Everything goes on around us, at least 100 miles around. And we have a little bar and a little restaurant and a little motel. When we took this place over 3.5 years ago, it was a lot smaller than it is now, and it was kind of a big struggle for us. We did a lot of remodeling, we've done a lot of menu changes, and taken over a failed business and make it succeed with a lot of people's help. The local people just like you that come to see us and see what everything's all about up here. It was a few months after we were open when a man came in here late one night and told us that he had heard about our little place on the radio. Well, needless to say, there was no way this man could have heard about us on the radio. We're out in the middle of nowhere. We're just way too small and financially not strong enough at all to pay for any radio time. What's this man want? That's what we said that night. As it ended up, we talked a little bit. Sure enough, it wasn't very long before Billy Goodman called us on the radio, and we found out it was a fact. He had been talking about our little place. The fun, the good people, the good food, we just have a good time up here. And the UFO activity that had been going on around our area. We have since then kind of become an information exchange center. The people that come here are just from every realm of life. We have had people here from every place in the United States and around the world. We have a lot of tourists that come here traveling back and forth. We have a lot of people that are searching information on UFOs and things that Joe and I have seen or not seen, or other people that have seen these things. It was a while back, probably 2 years. It was either in January or late December or January 2 years ago. And up here where we are in Rachel, it gets very cold. And that particular time it was well below zeros. Joe and I were alone that night sitting in the bar. It was about 8 o'clock at night. I'm going to say between 8 and 9 because neither one of us are really sure. And through the middle of our back door came a beam of light. Now when it's well below zero, and it was probably 25 below, those doors are solidly shut, and it's a steel-clad door. We looked at each other and said, "Did you see what I think I saw?" And we both agreed exactly what had happened, that something or some form had come into our place. Well, we had occasionally told, just out in the general, if they wanted to come and visit, that would be great. We would love to have a being. And that's what we felt that it was. We both felt a presence of something. We never saw a shape or a form of any kind. Well, we just told whatever it was to make itself at home. If it could come through the steel door, it could certainly open a can of beer or a soda pop or go fix a sandwich. So we just sat and went back to what we were doing.
I hear a rumble off in the distance. What is that, Joe?
Those are airplanes. The fighter range is just over there a ways. They're having an exercise right now, training exercise. We we get an air show just practically every day. You know, we can see the dog fights and watch them drop their magnesium flares. It's just an experience living here. As a matter of fact, I came from Michigan in 1979 to Las Vegas, and I always tell everyone, if you wear out a pair of shoes in Nevada, well, you'll always live in Nevada. You'll always be back. You might leave, but you'll come back. I think a lot of people scoff and laugh and ridicule people that are interested in UFOs. And I think before anyone forms an opinion, one way or the other, that they should take the time to do a little research on their own. Do a little reading, because there is just a mountain of information that's available if anyone is interested enough to inquire. That's a sonic boom. They break the sound barrier, and they shake us pretty good here sometimes.
I noticed that the other day. There was about 3 right in a row, and it sounded like all these trailers were going to come crashing down.
Sometimes you really think they are.
You know, Rachel impresses me as the kind of little town that if you had a bunch of these trucks pull up and hook up to these trailers, it could literally disappear overnight.
Well, I suppose that could happen, but it couldn't happen without the people's permission, I assure you. I have seen lights in the distance where they're not supposed to be, and you see the test site is just right here, and I've seen lights. No airplanes are allowed to fly over there, not even the military, and I have seen lights over there that I can't account for.
What have you seen those lights do? Do they just hover? Do they move? What do they do?
Well, it's just, the ones that I have seen are just there, and they're in a great distance. And I'm inside the restaurant bar, well, just all the time. I don't really have a lot of time to look. But there have been like stars that we have noticed. They'll be there one night and they won't be there for a week, and then they'll be back again in all directions, and they'll move from place to place. My wife saw, my wife was telling this one lady about the stars that we see that move, and she was skeptical, you know. But they spent the night in our motel, and we had closed up, and we were on our way to our room, and my wife walked to the end of the people that she was talking to were getting some stuff out of a U-Haul truck. So the wife said hi, and we started chatting, and the wife walked over to the end of the building and said, here, I can't remember the lady's name. So here's the star. She was talking to the other lady, said, there's that star I was telling you about that moves. So the lady walked over and looked, and just like someone turned on a light bulb, it disappeared. She said, oh my God, it vanished. And that's what happened. It just, it was there and then it wasn't.
Did you believe in UFOs before you came up here, Joe?
Well, I've always felt that I've kept an open mind about it, because anyone that can have the knowledge that there are trillions of stars in our galaxy alone, and each star is a sun. Well, I mean, that's mind-boggling. And if you think about that as our solar system is a star, our sun, well, it would be naive, even conceited, to think that our planet is the only one of all these solar systems that support an Earth-type planet.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Last summer, there was quite a little difference. There was an object in the sky that Joe and I had watched quite a few nights when we went home, and it would change, and yet it would still be the same object. It would change positions, directions. I went to show a couple that had been here, particularly, her name was Susan, where their room was going to be, and I said to her about the object in the sky. I said, it's going to get brighter, it's going to lower, and it's just going to be different. She said, that's Venus. I said, no, Venus is up there, and I showed her where it was, just a a little bit further up from this object. And it was about 10 minutes after 10 that night when Joe and I got to go home. And Susan and her husband were outside having to go through the truck to get what she had told me to put by the back door that was in the middle. Well, anyway, I got home a little ways past where they were, and I called to her because this object was excessively low, way down by where the hay fields are. And I called to her, and she got there, and she had just enough time to say, "Oh my God, it disappeared." And exactly just like that. That's how she saw it, and it disappeared. There was no afterglow. There was, usually if a light goes out, you see something. But there was nothing. It was just total blank.
Well, by now, you should have guessed that the secret that we're looking for is what the public generally calls UFOs. But that's not the only thing that you can find in the Mojave Desert in Nevada. There are many old abandoned mines, mine shafts, mining equipment, and a lot of it is dangerous. Be very careful if you come out here and you find these old mines. The shafts can collapse at any moment. In 2 of the mines, I actually found dynamite that had been left. This valley looks like it's empty, but just follow the camera and it'll zoom right in on the remnants of an old mining town. This whole valley is filled with the ruins of rock homes, mines. Who knows who lived here? But as you can see, it's just at the top of Coyote Summit above the little town of Rachel. I found this old ghost town when I was looking for a vantage point from which to view any portion of the test site and to watch the aerobatics of the fighter planes. 110 miles in that direction over those mountains is the little town of Tonopah and the Tonopah test site. I found the ruins of this old mining town so interesting that I almost forgot my original purpose, but I'll show you just some of what I found. Most of the rock walls that made up the dwellings that these men and women lived in were very rough, very primitive. Maybe at one time they looked really nice, but you sure can't tell that now. Behind this house was an old grave mound. The marker long since gone. No way to tell who was buried under that pile of rocks. It's January, as you learned earlier, and there's still snow on the ground, and it's very cold. In some places on the dirt roads where the snow is melting, if you don't have a four-wheel drive vehicle, very likely to get stuck. This is the only building in this little valley that is still mostly intact, although falling down. This was the best rock wall. I soon discovered that I had to be very careful as I walked around these ruins. The ground was deceptive, and there are many holes just lightly covered by dirt and old rotten wood. And this is one of them. This, in fact, was someone's dugout home. The remains of an old wooden couch and a cardboard box are all that's left. This spot was extremely dangerous. You can see that there are mine shafts under the ground, covered by rotting wood and dirt, and all one has to do to disappear forever is just step in the wrong spot. Looking back across the valley, it was very hard to leave without walking across and exploring this old building, but realizing the dangers that lie just below the ground, the many tunnels and shafts that these men dug during the years that they looked for whatever they were looking for, kept me from doing it. From this side, we are on the exact opposite side of the mountain where the observation post is. And from this side you can see it much better. You can very clearly see the observation tower at the top of the peak. And now it's time to go down and wait for sunset at the 29.5-mile marker and see what we can film over the top of the test site. We're standing at the area known as the 29.5-mile marker by the mailbox on the side of the highway 375 in Nevada. Nobody knew about this spot until I revealed its existence on the Billy Goodman Happening KVEG radio show in 1989. Many of the listeners called in and urged Billy to put together a field trip so that they could come out and see if what I had told them was the truth or not. Since then, literally, tens of thousands of people have come out and stood at this spot and watched these strange craft that belong to the United States government fly in the sky over the test site. We're panning the camera in 360 degrees so that you can see what it looks like just after sunset in the desert. There is nothing and no one anywhere near on this cold January night. Most of what you're going to see that we filmed during this 2-week period was shot from this location, and some of it was filmed from a spot right on the boundary of the test site, as close as we could possibly get. The tape over the mailbox covers holes that somebody put there with a firearm of some type. Very soon it will be dark, below freezing, and no moon. What you're watching is one of the fighter planes streaking across the sky. Training exercises and dogfights are conducted in this area frequently. Every day, while I'm asleep, these planes conduct their exercises, and I'm awakened on many occasions by sonic booms. If you'll watch closely, coming from the left side of the screen will be another fighter plane And you can see how good these pilots really are as they literally come head-on and meet in midair. That's too close for my comfort. Because I slept all day on most days during the 2-week period that this documentary was filmed, this was the only example of some of the exercises in the air that we were able to film ourselves. But on many other occasions in my trips to this area, I have seen the stealth fighter, the stealth bomber. This is the stealth bomber. This is the stealth fighter. What you're seeing are official Air Force film clips. This is the SR-71 Blackbird, which was recently retired. This is the B-1 bomber. I have seen the B-1 bomber literally flying approximately 100 feet above the ground across the Tickaboo Valley. I have seen the stealth fighter, the B-2 bomber, several MiGs, all kinds of the latest fighter aircraft. And you can see all of these things too if you venture out into this area of Nevada. Most people don't realize that the stealth fighter was flying in the late 70s, and there was an operational tactical fighter wing made up of stealth fighters by the year 1983. The inhabitants of the Mojave Desert in this area knew about these aircraft many years before the general public even had the slightest hint that they existed.
Hi, my name is Ron Wilkin. I'm from Reno, Nevada. I worked in a casino as a bartender. I came down this way. I was introduced to Bill Cooper's material from a friend of mine, and we had some videotapes that we had looked at and became curious, and decided that during my trip to Arkansas, I'd come down this way and invited a friend along. Got the directions from one of Bill's videos, so I went and bought a world atlas which showed exactly where Groom Lake was, along with all of the highways. And
when did you arrive?
Monday, I believe it was the 27th. Okay, and got here that evening. We went and got our rooms, and then we came back, and then shortly after we saw a spacecraft. Have a spotting scope. It's a 1,000mm spotting scope. And, set it up and got a good sighting of a spacecraft. A mailbox that's known as the 29.5-mile marker.
Who else was there?
A friend of mine, Mike Podesta, and Bill Cooper.
Can you describe exactly what time it was and what the weather was like?
It was a clear sky. It was about 6 o'clock in the evening. It was a real clear, kind of cool, 30 degrees maybe or so. It got a little unpleasant toward the end of the evening, but about 6 o'clock was the first sighting.
Was it dark?
It was pretty dark, but that made it easier to see. So there wasn't any haze or anything like that.
Can you tell us exactly what it was you saw? What did it describe what it looked like?
Okay, what it looked like from what I could see was a circular object. At least from what I could see, it was circular. There was circular lights, almost moving in a circular motion. Through the scope the first time I had a smaller lens, and I could see that it was moving in a very strange direction, so I changed lenses and got a much bigger lens, which gave me a real good view. And I could see that the object was flying sideways. It would hover, it would go upside down more than once, it would reverse directions, go upside down in the opposite direction. So it did all kinds of things that I'd never seen before.
What kind of lights? Did the craft itself have lights on it, or did it glow?
Not on the top part of the surface. It seemed like it was the underneath that did the glowing. The circular lights were really obvious. It was kind of like they were on the edge of the bottom of the aircraft. Very unusual, and it was very easy to see even from a distance with a naked eye. But when you view through a scope, you get a real clear shot.
Did you see any other activity around the area? Any other aircraft or helicopters or anything that you could recognize and compare with what you saw?
Oh yeah, there was some helicopters, and you could see, because usually helicopters have like a red light on top and a white light on the bottom, and it flies more or less in a straight line at times. And while this spacecraft was flying, there was some helicopters that were nearby, and then there was security kind of below the area where it was flying. Later on toward the evening, there was some jets and things like that they were doing some testing. So you got a chance to kind of compare, versus an airplane, a jet, a helicopter, anything else. This was completely different.
On the first night that we were able to film the craft in the air, I thought it would be important to film some other things that people might think to confuse with what they were seeing. What you first saw was the brightest star in the sky that night, Sirius. What you're looking at now are the headlights of one of the security vehicles approximately 8 miles distant from us. You can see the top of the mountain range in the background. It is really very dark, and that is what most people would commonly call a UFO. Through the binoculars, it is actually almost saucer-shaped and looks very much like the drawing in the back of my book, in the appendix, my book, Behold a Pale Horse. This vehicle is moving at an unbelievable speed. It is 20 miles away from us, and the entire craft glows. Now, let me make that very clear to you. The entire craft glows and pulsates with light. What you're looking at is not an airplane. It is not a rocket. It is not a balloon. In a few moments, you're going to see some very small blinking or strobing lights. Those lights that you are going to see are aircraft and helicopters that are accompanying this craft on its test flight. This is a very mild test flight. It is not performing the maneuvers that we have seen it perform in the past. However, on another night, we captured this craft performing maneuvers which, according to the laws of physics, cannot be done. And if they could be done, according to the laws of physics as we know them, no human being could live inside a craft performing those maneuvers unless the laws of physics as we know them are wrong. What you are looking at is what people all around the world have been reporting since the late 40s as unidentified flying objects. In my research, I have found that Germany actually developed these craft during World War II. Notice just to the right of the craft, you can see helicopters and airplanes, one of them approaching the craft. That large flash that you saw in the background below the mountains was an explosion of some kind that went off in the distance. Remember, this is a military test site. They practice bombing runs. They do all kinds of things out here. They even detonate atomic bombs. See how small the airplanes and helicopters are compared to this craft? Remember, we're 20 miles away, filming this craft in the air. The horizontal movements, the real rapid ones, are when I'm panning the camera to keep it in the frame. At no time ever do I move the camera vertically. What you are seeing there is the craft making those maneuvers on its own. The only movement of the camera is horizontally to keep the craft in the frame of the video camera. Now the craft did not disappear just then. There you can see it. However, you have to understand that the viewfinder on the video camera is so small, it's about a half-inch square, that in the pitch black darkness I lost it, and I'm now trying frantically to get it back into the viewfinder, and there it is. This craft is huge. The entire skin of the craft glows like a light bulb. And it has now completed its test flight. It is going back into the test site at Groom Dry Lake, Area 51. It is not descending into the area known as S4. Don't pay any attention to all the baloney you've heard about that. Well, you saw the brightest star in the sky, Sirius. You also saw the headlights of the security vehicles. These are flares off in the distance. You can always tell flares because they leave smoke trails in the sky. Those of us who served in Vietnam are very familiar with flares. The small strobing white lights that you see diving down toward the flares are aircraft making practice bomb runs approximately 20 miles from our location. We could actually hear the muffled explosions all the distance. You can see now another plane coming in to make his run.
My name is Mike Podesta. I'm from Reno, Nevada, 28 years old, former member of the U.S. Freestyle Ski Team. We just came up to Rachel, Nevada, or Area 51, to check out some things that we could see. We were up here for about 3 days or 3 nights, and Monday night, the first night we were out here, we've seen some very unusual things. From a distance, at the 29.5 mile marker, I could see lights, not too distinctive, but looking through Ron's lens, which is like a telephoto or a telescopic lens, I could see a craft, and it was very unusual, and I was really surprised to see it. When I looked at it, it started to do like donut-shaped circles. And then it started to glow really bright, and it started on a trajectory with all these other lights. I assumed they were helicopters or planes around it. Our cameras froze up. It was very interesting. It was very cold. And the sighting lasted about 3 minutes. And about 1 minute after the first craft was moving, another one popped up. And we could see that they were very different, not like an aircraft where it has landing lights. This whole thing was lit up. I've never seen anything like it except for Bill Cooper's video, which shows something very weird. And I would advise anybody, if you're very interested, to come up and check this out. I took 4 days off of work, my own money. I'm a concerned citizen. I really wanted to see for myself, and you can too. Just go out there and look for yourself. It's easy to find, and it's worth your while. Just 3 minutes of a sighting made my whole trip.
Did you have any doubts before you came that it might be just a bunch of baloney and maybe you wouldn't see anything at all?
No, I didn't. After seeing so many things on, so many photographs and video footage of Bill Cooper's and also some other footage, I knew something's going on, but I really did come down here to see it with my own eyes. And I did, and I was amazed.
So you know beyond any shadow of a doubt that they're testing some totally unconventional and unorthodox type of aerial craft in what's called the Groom Dry Lake facility?
Definitely. You know, I think of when people say UFO, an identified flying object. Well, it's over a military facility, so I would identify it as a government craft. Definitely doing things that I don't know how any kind of human would survive the maneuvers that this craft was performing.
After Monday night, what did you do Tuesday?
Tuesday we went hiking around 4:30, trying to get a better look. It got dark, we came back. There was a sheriff out there. He was kind of harassing us a little bit, not necessarily myself, but Bill Cooper. And we didn't see much Tuesday night. Wednesday night we went up there, we went in about 11 miles closer, and there was security watching us for about 8 hours. These other guys, they went up and tried to get some photos of the Area 51 Groom Lake, and they did. And we didn't see much, a little bit here and there, not as clear as Monday night, but Monday night was my night. But at one point, I did see something last night. We were all looking at it. And it was traveling like this, and it zipped back the other way and traveled. I don't know if an airplane can do a circle so fast, but it looked like it stopped, reversed, and it did it a couple times. We've seen some helicopters, low-flying helicopters, very interesting. We're watching this helicopter flying very low, and it goes just behind a little mountain, and it just seemed to disappear. We didn't know if it landed or we never seen it again.
And that wasn't very far from us, was it?
That was about 2 miles from us, I'd say.
In Indianapolis.
It's not only cold in the desert, but it's very lonely. I usually take my shortwave radio and listen to Radio Free America whenever it's possible. What you're seeing off in the distance are flares. These are not the UFO type craft. These are not the saucer or disc-shaped craft that people call UFOs. These are flares. Again, if you look closely, you can see the smoke trail above the flares. Remember, you've seen the brightest star in the sky, you've seen headlights, you've seen flares. Later in this video, you'll see the brightest planet, in fact the only planet we could find in the sky on these dark nights that we were there, moonless, freezing cold, the planet Jupiter. We wanted to make sure that you could see everything that people could possibly say was being confused with this craft that we're filming. This is the planet Jupiter. If you look very closely, you can see two of the moons. We were able to see the moons very clearly through the lens. Now Jupiter has many more moons than two, but on this night, two were all that we were able to see. Notice it's not moving. Notice that Sirius didn't move, although it did flicker. The headlights moved, but they were below the mountains. This is what we came to film. This is the most incredible flying machine that I have ever seen in my life. You will see this craft on this night make maneuvers that, according to the laws of physics, are absolutely impossible to make. Now, through the binoculars, this looks like a metal-skinned craft, but the entire skin of the craft glows. What you just saw there was not the craft, it was an attempt to bring it into better focus. When you see extremely rapid horizontal movements like that, it is us moving the camera to keep it in the frame. We never move the camera vertically, never. You just saw the craft do something that we've witnessed on many occasions. It literally disappears from the sky. Through the binoculars, you can see absolutely nothing there. It doesn't turn out lights, it doesn't stop glowing, it disappears. If what we've observed on other trips and on this night is what we think we're observing, then these craft are actually time machines. You see it just come back. It just materializes out of nowhere. And there it's gone again. This is uncut, unedited film. It is rolling exactly as we shot it. Now that's us moving to keep the craft in the frame. Remember, we never move the camera vertically. Now it's gone again. Through the binoculars, it literally disappears from the sky. It is not in this world anymore. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know what to tell you. All I can tell you is what we saw and what we filmed and show you. These maneuvers by these craft have been reported by people all over the world, from every walk of life, from every station, from every economic situation, from presidents and leaders and rulers of countries, to chief executive officers of large corporations, to military personnel, officers and enlisted, to the man on the street, to homeless, primitive tribesmen who have never read a UFO book and have never heard of UFOs have reported these craft. You just saw it disappear. You just saw it blink back on and disappear again. We have no way of knowing where it goes. We cannot explain this. But we can tell you, beyond any shadow of a doubt, that these craft belong to the United States government and are flown from a super secret test site owned and operated by the United States government, which the government denies exists. You will also see that test site in this video, filmed for the first time from a mountain overlooking the area. This is the only film of its kind ever taken. This is a historic video. This is a historic film. Not just this section of the film, but the one that you saw previously, and the film that you are going to see later in this videotape. Now, if Germany developed this technology during World War II, and they've been secretly working on it ever since, why is it kept so secret from the public when we know by our research that the United States government, Great Britain, Canada, and the Soviet Union all possess this technology? Did it come, as many people say, from an extraterrestrial source? I can't answer that question. Those are the donut-shaped movements that was explained to you by one of the people that I took along with me. The 4 people that you see in this videotape had never seen a UFO before in their life, and that's why I brought them with me, so that you could hear from their own mouth what they saw. Now let me venture a question to you. What better way to unite all humanity in a one-world government than if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet? Does this some other species really exist? Or is this technology being used to make us believe that they exist in order to break down the sovereignty of nations and bring all of the people of the world together under one world government? That's a lot to think about, and I'm not going to take it any farther than that. At least, not in this video.
Remember, this film is uncut and unedited. And this is the longest test flight that I have ever witnessed this craft perform. We were also extremely lucky to be able to get this footage because on
Me and my husband were invited by Bill Cooper to come up and to view the Area 51 Groom Lake test site. We came up Monday night. We happened to pass Bill on the 29.5-mile marker going to the Little Alien, and we didn't really realize he was there. Anyway, we got into town and we didn't do anything that night. And the next day, we went up into the mountain area where we were right before the mountain that you're supposed to climb. And it was a little late, and our two buddies, Ron and Mike, decided to trek off and try to climb the mountain. And as it turned out, it got too dark and they couldn't see a thing. And they were lost for quite a long time. And me and my husband and Bill were up on the hill, and we were watching how the security kept coming back and forth and in and out of the test range area, and watching us quite concerned. And as it turned out, some security officer came out and checked out the vehicle, and because it's the federal land, I believe, that we were on, they called the sheriff. And as it turned out, the sheriff came out and basically asked us to leave, but Bill pretty much stuck up for the whole situation and told us that, told the man that we weren't supposed to leave because this was federal land and we could stay there. So as it turned out, he kind of made up an excuse that we had to move our vehicles away from a watering hole where the cattle come, and we got to stay longer. And as it turned out, during this time, Ron and Mike finally found their way up after probably 2.5 hours of being out in the desert, and they were freezing and tired and what have you, but it was quite an experience, I'm sure, for them. The only thing that I could say that we really seen, besides the security and all the interest they had in us, was some sort of illuminated vehicle, whatever it was, coming up over the mountain range that kind of like went straight up right over the mountains and then stayed there for about a minute and then went down again. It was interesting, but we're not sure exactly what it was, but it was very, very illuminated. It didn't look like the helicopters or the planes that we had been seeing flying all night. After a while, you get to know that things such as what helicopters look like and what planes look like, then this was quite a bit different. Now yesterday, which was Wednesday, we went up in the early afternoon and decided we were going to climb the mountain. We drove our Bronco almost to the base of the mountain and went up and walked all the way up to the peak that we were supposed to go to. And what we saw was quite enlightening. We could see a good portion of the whole test site, which was a dry lake bed, very, very flat, with all kinds of different buildings, hangars, airplanes. In fact, when we looked down with our binoculars, we could see planes clearly in view, large planes. We've seen a plane come out of there. We've seen a helicopter flying around. And the only thing that kind of worried me about the helicopter is it started to fly around in the vicinity of where Bill was and where we were, and we were getting a little paranoid that they were going to come up and basically check out what we were doing, as it seemed that all the security knew that we were there. There were probably 5 to 6 vehicles during the time we were there going back and forth on the road and slowing down and binoculars out and what have you. So we were really concerned that they might have some problem with us being up there.
Well, there they go, off into the desert. While Mike Podesta and I stayed on the hill, Ron, Karen, and Earl took the Blazer and followed a little rutted trail for as far as they could, and then made their own trail, blazed a trail if you will, to the base of a mountain, which we already knew was on the BLM, our public land. Right in the center of your screen, just over those rocks, is their four-wheel drive Blazer. They are literally picking their way through the cactus, the rocks, the tumbleweeds. Again, they are just a little below the center of the screen. I do not recommend that anyone who watches this videotape do what we have done. It is extremely dangerous. You can see where we're at. We are literally almost on the boundary of the test site. Going to pan around so that you can get some idea of exactly where this section of the documentary was filmed. Down at the lower part of the screen you can see the water hole that the sheriff made us move our vehicles 1,000 yards away from in the middle of the night. We won the battle because he told us we had to leave the entire area. You see the road that's going up to the base of the mountain in the distance? That's the dirt road, and where it meets the mountain is Highway 375. We're approximately 12 miles from the highway at this point. Again, you can see that there is nothing and no one anywhere around except right over those mountains that you're looking at. Is one of the most super secret test sites in the United States of America. There you can see them approximately in the center of the screen, beginning their climb up the mountain. It took them quite a while to reach the top. Again, they're about in the center of the screen. This is a 30-to-1 zoom lens, and the heat rising from the desert floor on this warm day, the only warm day that we encountered in the entire 2 weeks, distorts the image. When we hit the digital and go to 60-to-1, you'll see that the combination of the wind, and it was very, very windy, the wind buffeting the camera and the heat rising from the desert floor seriously deteriorates the camera image. We had a very steady wind on this entire day, and it was almost impossible to keep the camera still even on a very heavy, sturdy professional tripod. Well, they've reached the top, and the first one who was up there, who's sitting on the rock, was Karen, and she never let the other two live it down for the rest of the time that we were together. Her husband, Earl, was last. I don't envy him at all. Now you can see exactly where they are. From that vantage point, they were able to look right down in and view the entire test site. That's quite a long ways from my position on top of a small hill next to the dirt road that leads into the test site. The actual border of the test site at this point is no farther than 3/4 of a mile from our position. While they were up there, and while I was filming them, the black helicopter came out flying very low. They were actually looking down upon the helicopter from their position on top of the mountain. All of them were astonished when they saw the helicopter disappear. From my vantage point, I saw that it did not disappear. It actually flew into an opening in the mountain, which opened up before it as if by magic. I felt as if I were watching some science fiction film as this helicopter flew into the mountain, and then the doorway closed back upon it, and you could not even tell that it existed. What you're viewing are security vehicles who dogged us the entire time. We were never without our shadow the whole time we were out there. The shadow, of course, was the security personnel. These men work for Wackenhut Corporation. They're under contract to the test site. Most of them are ex-FBI, ex-law enforcement, or ex-intelligence operatives from the many branches of the intelligence community. They are all big in stature, menacing. They wear no identifying marks, patches, or insignia whatsoever, and will refuse to identify themselves when asked. These two drove up and wrote down the license number of our vehicles. If you do anything wrong, the slightest thing, park your vehicle on a county road, if they run your license plates and find that you have warrants outstanding, anything, they will use the slightest excuse to call the county sheriff to come and either arrest you or order you to leave the area. Your only weapon is to make sure that you do not do anything wrong, make sure you know the laws, make sure that you are on public property, BLM land at all times, and make sure you know what your rights are. These two guys parked out in the desert, facing directly at us, and watched us and filmed us with cameras and watched through binoculars the entire time that we were on the hill. They were under the impression that we could not see them, but they underestimated the power of our telescopic lenses. That will give you some idea of the security. Well, you can see our intrepid climbers coming back down the mountain, and you will hear from one of them now.
And we were getting a little paranoid that they were going to come up and basically check out what we were doing, as it seemed that all the security knew that we were there. There were probably 5 to 6 vehicles during the time we were there, going back and forth on the road and slowing down, and binoculars out and what have you. So we were really concerned that they might have some problem with us being up there. as it turned out, the helicopter just flew around for a couple minutes, and then I don't know where it went, but it just disappeared, and I don't know where it went because it didn't go behind any mountains. The mountains were too low. So I'm not too sure what happened to the helicopter, but it was an unusual experience to watch it. And we were very high, and we were way above it, so something happened to it, but don't ask me what. Anyway, we got quite a bit of, I took some shots with my camera, and Ron took shots with his camera. And I think the only thing we regret was we didn't have the proper equipment and possibly like sleeping bags and things like that, because I think we definitely would have stayed up there all night long, and I think we would have came out with some really good footage if we did. The thing is, it's a very high peak, and you have to basically dress for the occasion and take enough sleeping bags and food and what have you to keep your energy up. I definitely would recommend anybody who knows anything about this to come out and see what's going on, because I don't think you'll be disappointed if you spend 2 to 3 days here. I mean, just the fact that they are so concerned that you're out there is enough reason for me to believe that something goofy is really going on. I have no doubt in my mind that, they are flying some kind of very, very sophisticated craft. So, I'll be out here again probably in the next couple of months just to get some better footage with maybe a better camera or video recorder, and I'm going to try my best to get what I can. Well, that there definitely is something strange going out there with the government, and I think that if you have any interest in seeing any kind of flying saucer type vehicle, that this is probably the best place to come. If you stay a few days, you can probably see something. And just don't worry too much about the security. As long as you're on the right piece of property, I guess you're going to be all right. I think they try to intimidate you a lot, but it doesn't really bother me. I think just being out there in the desert and seeing all these unusual things is enough to make me feel that, well, I should take the time and do it and not worry about, what they think. I will be out again, so until next time.
On one of the last nights of my stay, exactly on the boundary of the test site, I watched this craft come up and fly directly over my head. The camera was on a tripod and captured this film footage as I watched. I was so surprised by the actions of this craft, which made no noise whatsoever, that I couldn't even think to pick up the camera and turn it around and follow it across the Tickaboo Valley. It was shaped like a flying wing, what's commonly called a boomerang-shaped craft, made no noise, and had white lights all along the leading edge.
Hi, my name is Earl Shepard. I'm from Pinckney, Michigan, and I'm here with my wife. I was invited out to Area 51, which is also, Groom Dry Lake by Bill Cooper. We came out here Monday. We didn't see anything Monday due to the fact that we were trying to catch up with Bill. But we came out Tuesday evening. It was about 8 o'clock. We were sitting up on a hill area, and we were sitting in the truck because it was very cold. And I looked out the window, and I seen a craft. I couldn't identify it or the outline of the craft, but it was very brilliant. It came up above the mountain range. It stopped in midair. It moved right slightly, and then went back down, and I didn't see it after that. But I was pretty excited because I don't know of any craft that can actually glow like that. I can understand lights, but these weren't normal lights. I used a 7x50 power binocular to look at this craft. Like I said, I couldn't see the outline, but it was very brilliant, like a ball. And that was Tuesday night. It was pretty exciting. Also, Tuesday night we were intimidated by security and also the county sheriff, which asked us to leave the mountain area in which we were trying to view unidentified craft or government craft, if you will. That intimidation and harassment lasted 30-40 minutes, in which case the sheriff asked us to politely move our cars 1,000 feet away from a watering hole, which is, I guess, is mandated by the county or something because we're too close, cows can't drink. But that was an interesting evening. We went Wednesday, Mike, Ron, Bill, myself, and my wife. Wednesday night, we seen something in the air. It was a craft that was not illuminated. It was metallic, and it moved in strange and erratic patterns that I can't describe of any aircraft, even known government aircraft such as our Air Force uses or commercial aircraft that can move in this manner. The reason, or the way I spotted it, is I was looking through my binoculars and it kept like twinkling, but it was moving in an erratic pattern, such as it went up, then moved right, moved left, and it spun, and then it went down. And through my binoculars, the reason I spotted it is because I was out of focus and I made it look like a silver ball. And then when I focused in, I can see a very little faint light, and this light was moving in a horizontal and vertical pattern in which there's no known aircraft that I'm aware of that can move. We also climbed the mountain. We went on top of the mountain. We looked down in Groom Dry Lake. We seen 4 military C-130 type aircraft. We seen jets, helicopters. We seen hangars. Lots of security out there. We also seen that they have 4 very large holding fuel tankers that are behind the hangar area. The area is very vast. It's very, very large. It's hard to visualize how big the area is, but just given in miles, I'd say it's like 4 or 5 miles wide. Looking through my binoculars, that's an estimate. While we were up there, also a helicopter came out between the mountains. We don't know where it came from. It came from behind the Groom Lake, or at the end of the Groom Lake area. It came out, it circled a couple times. It came towards us, about a mile away from us, and then flew in. It flew low into a mountain range area and then disappeared. In fact, it was before the mountains. It didn't appear that it went into the Groom Lake area, but it disappeared and never came back up. And we were kind of scared because we were up on the mountains looking into the test site area. We had some pretty good view up there, and we also seen low-flying aircraft doing maneuvers. Other than that, we really didn't see anything other than the aircraft that I described in the evening. If you're going to go out there, I would strongly advise taking some good winter warm clothing, a compass, some good flashlights. You need to set up some kind of signaling within your party so that you know what's going on, emergency signals, and take the proper equipment to be able to view in sight, because it gets very cold out there, and it can be lonely and boring out there in the desert, but make sure that no one goes off on their own, and that because it's so easy to get lost. And that's about it. If you go out, don't go out alone. Come down to area 29.5 mile area where the mailbox is. Come and view for yourself. Like I said, take somebody with you. wear warm clothing, and stay a few nights. You might not see anything the first night or second night, but come down and see for yourself, as I have. I'm pretty amazed at what I've seen. Really amazing. I'm coming back. I hope you invite me back out here again, Mr. Cooper.
This is a satellite photograph of the Groom Dry Lake area. The arrow is pointing to the runway, which is over 35,000 feet in length. You can see the facilities on the upper left quadrant of the screen. This is another historic piece of video footage. The first footage ever taken of the actual installation inside Groom Dry Lake from the top of the mountain, which you saw climbed earlier in this videotape. Here you're seeing an airplane land at the site. This is not one of the saucer-shaped craft. What you're looking at are the landing lights. You can see it very clearly through binoculars. The actual craft that we're talking about, the UFO saucer-shaped type craft, the entire thing glows. The entire flying machine glows like a light bulb. Now it's landed on the runway and it's taxiing up to the facilities. The Army, Navy, and Air Force, and the Marines, and the United States government have denied the existence of this test site for years. However, there have been many slips and leaks. These are two of the expedition that produced this film. The actual video footage was shot by Mr. Charles Wren of Millennium Productions in Los Angeles. You can see that it's a little grainy, but we're very lucky that Charles Wren gave us permission to use this film in this video. And I might remind you that beggars can't be choosers. It's almost sunrise and there's enough light to see the installations. It's very difficult to focus a camera in a very, very small viewfinder in the dim light. That's the road down there that comes from the base of Hancock Summit, Highway 375, all the way into the test site. It's one of our expedition members sleeping on the job. Another one with his binoculars standing lookout. They were hoping to get some footage of the craft in flight from the top of the mountain on this night, but the only thing that flew in the air was the plane that you saw land on the runway. It's hard to make so many trips out here to the test site without falling in love with the desert. I've come to realize that the desert is one of the most beautiful, fascinating, geographic landscapes that there is. There you can clearly see the dry lake bed. You can see the runway going across the center of it from left to right. And you can see the hangars and the buildings and facilities. This videotape proves once and for all that when the Air Force, the Navy, the Marines, and the Army, and the government deny the existence of this super secret test site and claim that there's nothing there but dry lake bed, that in fact is a lie. The man on the right is Gary Schultz. Later you're going to see a photograph that he took of this craft in the air. We're quite a pair, Gary and I. He has one arm and I have one leg. One more sweep of the horizon. One more peek at the test site. You can clearly see the dirt road that goes into the test site down below the mountain. And off in the distance, the hangars, the facilities, the runway. From the top of the mountain with binoculars or with a telescope, you can see everything quite clearly. This is some type of construction that has marred the landscape and appears to have entrances which go underground. We were unable to identify the exact nature or purpose of that installation. Now, if you follow the dirt road from Highway 375 at the foot of Hancock Summit, this is where you will end up, and you must go no further than those signs. This security vehicle was waiting for us like a spider, and as soon as we drove up, they began coming toward us. But they stopped as soon as they saw that I had a video camera on my shoulder. These men who work for Wackenhut Corporation do not like to be videotaped. They do not like their picture taken. Those are the signs. I would advise you to stay as far away from those signs as I am standing as I make this video. If you cross the line between those signs, or any line that makes up the boundary of the test site, you are fair game and could be charged with espionage, could be arrested, and as far as I know, maybe you could be shot. This is the gate of the Medlin Ranch, and here you can see the ranch. There are quite a few trailers on this ranch, and we've watched many of the security vehicles drive up. The occupants get out, go into these trailers, and not come out for several hours. We deduce from this that the ranch is a front for the security. At night, I have driven down the dirt road toward the ranch, and a brilliant white light comes on top of one of these poles and alerts everybody in the valley that someone is on the dirt road. As I said in the beginning of this film, you cannot come anywhere near this test site without coming under the surveillance of someone for the entire time that you are here. This is the bus that takes workers to and from the test site, and contrary to what you may have heard and what some hysterical storytellers have said, you can clearly see that the bus windows are not blacked out. These men who work in this test site and the women who work in the test site know exactly where they work, and there is no need to black out the bus windows. Also, while you're out here, be careful, because all of these vehicles drive very fast down these dirt roads. And that's one of the reasons why, so the dust cloud doesn't catch up with them. Many people have asked me, after they saw Project Redlight, the first film, if we had photographed any of these craft in the daytime. Well, here's your answer. I can't tell you what it is. I can't tell you what it's doing. I can't tell you how it's making that trail in the sky. All I can tell you is that it is brilliantly lit, just like the craft that flies at night. It is huge. It's approximately 20 miles away. This particular craft is moving very slowly, however. We suspect that they produce some kind of electromagnetic field which literally ionizes the air. Whereas it looks like the entire skin of the craft is glowing, it may be that it is ionizing the air, and it is the air that is glowing. Now, that's just a supposition. I don't know that to be fact. Now watch what happens here. These things are absolutely incredible. When I was attached to the Office of Naval Intelligence many years ago, I learned that whatever you perceive as the state of the art of any technology in the public sector, that they are at least 50 to 100 years ahead in secret. This videotape should prove to anyone who watches it that science fiction is no longer fiction, it is science fact. If this technology were available to the public sector, your guess would be as good as mine. This is one of the black helicopters that dogged us while we were making these video films. We saw this in the sky, and it probably is a natural phenomenon, but it was just too unusual to go unfilmed. It is a large Roman numeral 6. This is what's commonly known as a cigar-shaped craft hovering above the test site in daylight. You can see that it's right under the tip of that white cloud. It is metal. Through the binoculars you can clearly see that it is metal. It moves out from under the tip of that white cloud and actually moves sideways into the cloud bank behind it after moving some distance to the left. You will watch it move to the left out from under the small cloud that it's sitting under, and then you will see it move away from the camera, directly away from the camera, and into the cloud bank behind it. It is a huge metal, unconventional type aircraft, and that's the only thing that I can tell you about it because it's the only thing that I really know. I cannot tell you how these things are propelled. I cannot tell you what makes them work. I can't even tell you where they really originated from. But I can tell you that ones that we have filmed out here in the desert belong to and are operated by secret agencies of the United States government. And we know from our research that they are also owned and operated by the governments of Canada, Great Britain, and the Soviet Union. What better way to unite all humanity in a one-world government than if we were attacked by some other species from some other planet? I advise you to think very seriously about that statement. This is a photograph that I took of the craft flying over the test site. It's a black and white photograph. It was taken with a zoom telescopic lens at a great distance on black and white film and blown up. This is the photograph that Gary Schultz took of the same object approximately a year before I took my photograph. They are exactly the same craft. This is a drawing of the craft that you just saw in this video and on those two photographs. This drawing was made by a man who works in the secret agencies of the United States government and was able to view this craft in a hangar at Norton Air Force Base. This drawing and one of the two photographs you just saw are included in the appendix of my book, Behold a Pale Horse.